possible that we call Spanish people Hispanic, but Portuguese people are not Hispanic? You know, because Hispanic is like, is a, you know, I hate like the term race. I hate that term, by the way, because I don't believe we're different races. We're just different shapes and sizes and skin colors. That's all. I don't believe there's like different races. I'm not trying to take away from cultures and stuff, obviously not, because every country and you know, every culture and everybody has different culture, but your skin color or your height or the way your face looks or the way anything looks doesn't mean culture. You know, just because you're white doesn't mean you didn't, for example, grow up with South American or South African culture. So that is your culture if you grew up there, and that is your culture. If you are black but grew up in Sweden or something, you know, and your parents grew up there and all of that, then that is your culture. I don't think one good alien invasion would do a lot to help us realize how stupid it is to split people by race. Yes, 100%. Because then we would, but that's, yeah, I mean, I saw that phenomenon with when the whole refugee problem was, with people trying to, you know, trying to flee from being killed, from you know, their wives and daughters being you know, sexually assaulted and mistreated and killed and all of those horrible things in a war, and being politically chased. I saw the phenomenon of those refugees coming into countries, and everybody, even if they were how do I explain this? So everybody then was against them. Does that make sense? Very unfortunately, it was horrible. But I remember being in a restaurant, and this Italian guy, who in Germany, by the way, this Italian guy owned this restaurant, and he said he was like saying, "Oh, these refugees, they're taking our jobs and shit like that," and I was like he had even like broken German, so you know this person didn't 100% grow up in Germany. He probably came from Italy, and I assume that he went through the same. Now ganging up on other new people because he feels, which is amazing, he feels like he's part of the German culture of Germany now. Like he's like, oh, our country, like they're taking our jobs in our country and shit like that, which, you know, is great that he thinks that he is part of it, but at the same time he's now being discriminative against other people, while he very, 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 very probably, I'm 100% sure that he went through the same thing, because that's how people are, you know. It's very sad, to be very honest with you, and it doesn't matter what nationality, what color, whatever, people will always be weird about change, and it's fearing the unknown, so to speak, you know. Not that they don't know, but, you know, if you didn't grow up in a place where a lot of different people are, then you're not used to see different, when then, you know, obviously different nationalities and different looking people. So this other person that I met, she was Ukrainian. She had been in Germany for many, many years, and she's Ukrainian, and she also fled. She is in Germany so many years, and one day she told me, oh, these refugees moved into the neighborhood, and I don't like them. And I'm like, okay, why do you not like them? And she said, well, because they have a different skin color. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? You went through the same thing. You actually complained about going through the same thing when you were younger. And now you're doing the same to them. How do you think they feel? But do you think they left family behind and had to flee so they can fucking survive? Because this is about survival. This is not about taking your damn jobs. And she was like, you're kind of right. And a few days later, she actually met her again. And she said she, started talking to them and stuff. And she loves their kids and she's super happy and whatever. And that she doesn't have that opinion anymore. That, but that's an important thing to do when you see that somebody is being discriminative or racist and you sense that it is due to uneducation, just them not being educated or them not having thought about it, what you should do is making them think by themselves. Just ask them questions, because in the end, you can probably change their minds. So if you have the patience for it and you see that this person is actually a good person, maybe seek the conversation, seek the asking questions, because they have to get to the point by themselves. That's a very important part. What I always do is ask questions, is why do you feel that way? Okay, but didn't you also experience something similar? How do you put yourself in the shoes of this person just for a few moments? Like imagine you're in a country, you have your home, and all of a sudden there's war. And everybody gets threatened. Your neighbors, your friends, maybe even your family gets killed. And you have an opportunity to flee to another country because they are taking refugees in. What do? Put yourself in the shoes. And then you are in a different country. You don't speak the language. It's completely new. You don't know anything there. How scary do you think that is? How scary do you think that is? Like, put yourself in the shoes of that person just for a second. Just imagine it. And then, and people start thinking about those things, because you need to make people able to relate and make people able to think for themselves and get to the point themselves. You can't just go to them and be like, that's racist, that's horrible, you suck. If you really, if they are actually racist because there are people like that or discriminative, then, whatever. Then you can't help them, to be honest. If they think about it and they come to their conclusion by themselves, then it's legit. You know what I mean? They will stop and to be discriminative, because they understand that it was offensive and horrible before, because they start to put themselves in their shoes and start to understand where they actually thought about it, and not just adapt an opinion that they read somewhere, or that you kind of put it, you kind of obviously are making them think, but it's not like you need to think like this. And it's a thing that is hard to do, and it does take a little bit of extra effort, but especially with people that when you have the energy, and especially with people where they are actually good people or they don't have ill intent, this goes for people in your environment, then you can make a change by just making them think. I think that's the most important part. Like I said, don't just force your opinion on them. Just make them think. That's my... maybe they'll have a different opinion. That's like with any subject. Maybe they'll come to different conclusions, but at least they thought about it. They put themselves in the shoes of other people and other people's suffering, because we tend to forget that other people are humans too, and that other people feel too. Especially with nowadays, everybody being unique. You know how we grow up nowadays? It's like, everybody's unique. Yes, everybody's unique, but it's taking the wrong way, where it's like everybody's unique, and if you don't like it, don't watch it, or don't do it, or who cares? If somebody's bad to you, just walk away. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? There's no real trying to work together, or trying to grow from each other, because everybody's right in their opinion, because that's how they were raised. And these are things that we need to sometimes confront, sometimes we gotta seek conversation and dialogue about things and grow from each other, because how else are we gonna grow? We can only grow from each other because everything kind of entails and it goes back to us being a society, and us being social beings. For you to get away from your opinions, you need to get uncomfortable. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about opinions in general now. This is not only about, discrimination and anything, because it means that you admit that you maybe have thought wrong, maybe have even acted wrong. And that's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to admit to yourself that you made mistakes, or that you made a mistake, or that this is not the right way to do, or that you completely maybe even change your whole opinion on life and how the way you have been living, etc. It's very uncomfortable, yeah. Is it necessary for growth? Personal growth too, obviously, and growth just in general, 100%. It's very important. So don't be afraid of being uncomfortable. I get very uncomfortable when somebody calls me out on my shit, or when I notice that I did something wrong. For example, I sometimes lash out very quickly, or I'm very ragey very quickly, and it's a stupid example. But last stream I went into the horror game with a bad attitude. And in the beginning, it's hard to admit, and for me it's always uncomfortable when somebody calls me out on it, and it's always uncomfortable when people criticize me. My first thought is no. It's blocking, but it kind of marinates in my thoughts, and then after a while I'm like, oh, maybe they're right, or maybe I shouldn't have acted that way, or maybe I shouldn't have said that, or maybe I shouldn't have, and that's uncomfortable, but it's important for growth. And it's the same thing with opinions. I mean, I just gave you a stupid example of playing a fucking horror game. You know what I mean? Also, when you criticize somebody, understand that they lash out maybe, or get angry, or maybe even, I mean, not to a horrible extent, but if they like, no, what are you talking about? But you need to understand that too, because maybe it takes some time for them to think by themselves. That's what I'm saying. The most important thing is make people think by themselves. And I think a lot of people maybe try to, and I am guilty of this too sometimes, where I try to put something in your head where I'm like, oh, you're so stupid, like put it in this fucking head, It just doesn't work, because the other person, they just close it and they completely disregard it, and then they don't think about it. The important part is make people think about it. Make them have their room to think, Make them come to their own conclusions. And I just think it's the most important. It's education and thinking. And that's that goes hand in hand, Some people you can't just change. There are some people who just are so immune to questioning themselves. That's the hard part. The questioning yourself, because by questioning your opinions, or maybe changing your opinion, or warping your, adapting your opinion, or adapting yourself, that's uncomfortable, because you have to question yourself. That's an uncomfortable thing to do. And it means that you are self-doubting in a way, and self-criticizing. And that's a very, 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 very hard thing to do. And you need to take that into consideration. And some people just aren't ready for that, and they are not willing to do so. And you can't help those people. I think it's important to also note what the other person is like, the person that is in front of you, because some people immediately block if you are blunt with them. Other people react the best if you are blunt to them. So it always depends if it's worth your time too. I wish I could save the whole world. I know it sounds cheesy, sounds stupid, but this is why I started doing music. This is why I do streams. This is why I entertain people, because I know my whole content is fucking trolling, stupid jokes, a lot of, sexual innuendos and whatever, because it's my sense of humor, it's a very stupid, it's like childish humor for grown-ups. I believe that with that, and with my music, that I can heal people, that I can save worlds. And in my book, every person is a world, because everybody is their own subject. Every one of us is a me, and the world does revolve around us, because this is our world. We have a world and a way of seeing the world, and it's all from your eyes and from your brain, basically. If I can save as many worlds as possible, that's amazing. I know there's a lot of depressed people, hurting people, and I just hope I can, just make their day better, or just keep them from doing something stupid. It does make a difference, it does make a difference. Not doing anything is kind of the same as doing the worst. Not directly, but it can be the same. Just watching in silence, or not even watching and just being in silence is a thing that it's not okay. The thing that you can change the most is yourself, whether it's with yourself or with outside help. But the thing you can change the most, and the thing is you and what you do and how you do it. And that is the most important thing. And if you're not ready to self-criticize, then what's the point? I mean, as a kid, you put your hand on a stove too, right? You learned from that. We never cease to learn. We're all clueless beings running around the world, not knowing what the fuck we're doing. At some point, we figure it out, or we figure it half out.